Hello everyone! Today we'll explore the fascinating intersection of neuroscience and marketing, known as neuromarketing. These fields help us understand how the brain processes sensory inputs and how those inputs influence consumer behavior, often without the consumer even realizing it. By studying how we respond to products, ads, and brand experiences, neuromarketing provides valuable insights into how we think and why we buy. As we walk through today's presentation, we'll discuss how the brain interprets sensory information and how businesses use this understanding to shape purchasing decisions in subtle, often unconscious way. So, the brain is our sensory control center, constantly processing input from the world around us through the five senses sight, hearing, smell, touch, and taste, like you've known. But the brain doesn't just perceive isolated stimuli, it creates a holistic experiences by combining these senses. This is where the Gestalt psychology comes in, stating that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. For example, when you step into an IKEA store, you don't just notice the furniture, right? You see the colors, you see the design, you feel the texture of the materials, you smell the wood and the fabric, and you even hear the ambient sounds. All these sensory inputs work together to create a memorable experience of you walking into IKEA. Your perception of the brand is now shaped by all these sensory elements combined, not just one isolated factor. This is the key in neuromarketing. Perception isn't just a reaction to the physical world, it's a complex process where the brain interprets sensory information and creates an emotional connection that shapes consumer behavior. Neuromarketing focuses on how sensory input from all five senses work together to influence consumer perceptions, as I have said above. Think about it. Like how a scent in a store can evoke a sense of comfort in you, or how the Circle K doorbell sound can stick into your mind, becoming synonymous with the brand itself. When we interact with these sensory cues, the brain integrates them into mental image of the brand, what we call the brand image. The brand image influences our purchasing decision and shapes our emotional connections to the brand. Over time, these associations help build brand loyalty. So, to make it clearer, let's look at a famous neuromarketing case study from 2004 comparing Coca Cola and Pepsi using the fMRI brand scanning. In the first part of the experiment, participants were given a blind test for taste. They didn't know which drink they were consuming, and they showed an even preference for both beverages. But when the Coca Cola logo was introduced, the results shifted dramatically. Three out of four participants preferred Coca Cola over Pepsi. This showed that because Coca Cola was more popular back then, so brand recognition and logo familiarity can trigger emotional responses in the brain, obviously, especially in areas responsible for memories and self image. So while Pepsi might taste sweeter and win in the blind test, Coca Cola's brand identity is deeply ingrained in consumer memories, making it a more powerful choice emotionally. The human brain, for your more information, is fascinating. It makes up only about 2% of your body weight, but it consumes 20% of the body's energy. Even more intriguing, of the 11 million bits of sensory input of the brain processes every second, only a tiny 0.01 is conscious. This means that over 99% of sensory input is processed unconsciously. We often don't realize how our brains shaped decisions and perceptions. For example, when you go shopping, your unconscious mind is guiding most of your choices, like how a product would make you feel or how the store layout influences your mood. Even if you don't consciously notice these things, they still impact you. This is where neuromarketing steps in, helping brands to tap into this unconscious process. To understand how these unconscious processes work scientifically, let's break down the brain into these three key parts for you to biologically understand how it works. First, we have the pink part. You can see in the image, we call it the cerebrum or the cerebral cortex. It's responsible for logic, language, reasoning, and conscious decision making. This is where your rational thoughts would occur. The blue parts in the middle is called the limbic system. This system controls emotions, memories, and motivation. It's crucial for memory responses, and it's also the reason why sensory experiences can create such strong emotional connections to brands. Finally, the purple part at the end you see is the reptilian brain, the oldest part of the brain, controlling basic survival instincts. It's quick to react to visual threats and often drives impulsive decisions, often overriding rational thought, and is also the basis of sensory studies. Now, the sensory experiences we all have, from seeing a product's design to hearing a brand's jingle, are stored in our memory, sensory memory. This memory lasts only a few seconds but play a crucial role in shaping perceptions for us. To be more specific of the process, as stimuli are going into your head, they pass through our short-term memory where we actively engage with them. The brain is constantly comparing these sensory inputs to past experiences and associating the emotions with them. This is why we feel more attached to brands we've had positive experiences with. The emotion resonance, we can explain here that the emotion resonance from past interactions influences our future choices. And our short term memory is like a mental working space. It holds information temporarily to help us solve problems or make decisions. So, when we're designing between products, this memory is at play, storing sensory details like the feel of the fabric or the taste of a beverage to recall it for you. Interestingly, the serial position effect shows that we tend to remember things better from the beginning or from the end of an experience. For example, the first product we touch or the last advertising we saw often sticks with us. Marketers can make use of this by placing key sensory cues like the product's logo or first impression as strategic points of the most memorable moments in the consumer experience to ensure that it leaves a lasting impact. It is also important to consider gender differences in sensory processing. Research shows that men and women processes in sensory information very differently. Women would tend to be more empathetic, emotionally sensitive, and visual. They are more engaged with sensory cues like sound and smell, and they tend to react more emotionally to music or pain. So when you go shopping, you can often see them comparing between products or make choices based on like manufacturers. Men, on the other hand, are typically more systematic, focusing on logic, competition, and practicality. They make faster decisions and tend to focus more on the functional aspects of a product. So when they're choosing the product, it's often goal oriented. This distinction affects how men and women interact with marketing materials and product. So companies and marketers can leverage these differences to tailor marketing efforts to make it work the most. Finally, do you wonder how we actually measure all of this? Neuromarketing uses neuropsychological techniques to measure how the brain reacts to different marketing stimuli. Some of the primary tools are first the EEG, which measures your brain wave activity, showing how quickly people react to sensory stimuli. The fMRI, as mentioned earlier, will provide detailed image of brain activity, helping us understand how different brain regions would react to ads, logo, or product packaging, etc. And finally, the MEG, what records magnetic fields in the brain, helping to locate specific neural responses. These tools gives us real-time data on how consumers feel and react to marketing beyond what they can express consciously. Now, mirror marketing provides businesses with an objective understanding of how consumers react to sensory stimuli. Unlike traditional surveys or focus groups, it can measure subconscious responses, providing richer insights into consumer behavior. However, as with any powerful tool, ethical concerns arise. There are fears that neuromarketing could be used to manipulate consumer at an unconscious level, raising issues of privacy and consumer autonomy. To mitigate the risk, there is a push for regulations to ensure that neuromarketing is used ethically, prioritizing consumer welfare and transparency. In conclusion, neuromarketing is transforming how we understand consumer behavior by going inside the brain. By exploring how sensory input trigger emotional responses and shape memories, neuromarketing helps business design marketing strategies that are more effective and emotionally resonant. However, with these powerful tools comes a responsibility to ethically use this data that should be respected. So, as we continue to explore the brain's intricate role in decision making, neuromarketing will only become a more essential part of the marketing landscape, creating a more personalized and impactful experiences for your consumers. And that is also the end of my presentation. Thank you for your attention.